What is up, everyone? Welcome to BBTV. Thank you for joining me. The End of Oak Street is a movie I saw recently, and it was predictably, yet unfortunately, quite mid. In fact, this movie actually really made me angry at times, and it's not because it's a super poor movie. It definitely has its highs. It just has one particular low that really essentially ruins the entire film, and if you've seen the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about as soon as I say that. So I'll kind of go into maybe a little spoiler for you. Actually, honestly, if you're seeing this movie, there's not really much to spoil. It's a dinosaur movie. The premise doesn't really make any sense. So spoilers from here on out. Basically, this town, because of some inexplicable wormhole, just teleports into the prehistoric time. And then also, it's basically just like a circle. There's like a certain radius of a town that's teleported into this prehistoric time. And then there's also a piece of prehistoric land that's teleported into the current time. And that's kind of the premise. That's literally all it is. It's not like, some crazy science experiment. It's not some specific realm of science. They mentioned wormholes at one point, but it's never like they're never burdening themselves with having to provide an explanation for why this is going on. It just happens, which is great, I thought, actually, because you kind of get that vibe at the beginning. Like, you kind of get the gist that this is not going to be some sci-fi, like, how did this happen? How are they going to undo it? At the beginning, I was kind of like, are they going to uncover a science lab and have to find out, like, how they got back? And you can tell from the beginning of the movie, this is not that kind of story. It's a very family-oriented story. Almost right off the gate, it's delving into the parental struggles between the mom and dad, Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor. Great cast, by the way. Well, it's really just Anne Hathaway, Ewan McGregor, and then a bunch of shitty child actors. But the main two, great actors. Honestly, though, I feel like Anne Hathaway is sneaky a little bit overrated, not going to lie. As an actress, I think she's amazing. Love seeing her in films. I don't think she's the best actress. But anyway, they delve straight into that, so it's kind of like, okay, this is going to be a family-oriented film. They're probably not going to delve too deep into what the sciencey explanation is, what is for how all of this is going on, which I liked. I enjoyed that quite a bit. And it's super grounded in reality. So like all the suburban stuff, you're like, yeah, this is classic suburbs. And so once you start implementing some of the dinosaur things that come in, I thought it was very cool because it's cool to see dinosaurs kind of framed in reality, like a reality that we as people can kind of understand. Most people, can understand kind of the scale, the size of a suburb, the relationships of a neighborhood. So having that and then having dinosaurs thrown in the mix can be something that's pretty sick. However, and honestly, it is sick. It is sick for a while. It's pretty cool. Things start happening. This old lady discovers a plant, a very cool looking plant that kind of has like this floating egg over it in her backyard. And it turns out that it's from like the Paleolithic. I don't know all the eras, okay? I don't know all the eras, but it's from like 200 million years ago, I think they say in the movie. So they're like, oh, what's going on? And the next thing you know, there's some dinosaur poop in someone's backyard, and it's kind of like, oh, like, what's going on here? This is weird. They have like a jerk neighbor who the poop happens in their backyard, and it's kind of a funny moment. The family's laughing because they don't like the neighbor or whatever, and the neighbor is upset. So it's got some suburban charm, I guess you could call it. It's not too shabby. And then when the dinosaurs start pulling up, it is pretty interesting because, again, like you go out with a baseball bat, there's weird noises, there's kind of like this like louder ambiance noise that's coming from the trees because, again, it's just like this radius of this neighborhood that's been put into prehistoric time. So all of a sudden the sounds of nature are really loud. There's weird squawks and shrieks in the background, and then you kind of see these dinosaurs start to kind of inch their way more and more into the screen time and into the forefront of the film, which is pretty enjoyable. And I also like that. I like that the dinosaurs look like, we don't really know how they look, obviously, but they look how scientifically they probably should look, like with the feathers, and not really feathers per se, but they're kind of hairy with feathered, like, I don't know, extensions of their skin. So it's pretty cool. Like the velociraptors kind of look like birds and chickens, which I know some people don't like. I feel like people, because of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, are very biased towards like the super reptilian like version of dinosaurs, but it's cool to see something that's grounded. And then when you couple that with the grounding of the suburban lifestyle that the characters are living in, I thought that the dinosaurs were done pretty well. There's a couple moments where it falls flat, but for the most part, it's pretty good. And so, in terms of the parts that fall flat, so at the end of the movie, there's the end of the movie is weird, and it kind of I'm gonna touch on this first because it kind of goes into what I mean by like there's not really a really sciencey explanation for what's going on. There's kind of just these wormholes that appear, and they're basically portals like to and from time. And so they have to get to this portal, so they pull up to the librarian's house, and the librarian's house is like the biggest mansion you've ever seen. Like it looks like Tom Cruise's house or something. And it's very weird. They make sure to point it out that like, oh, we're going to the librarian's house, and then it's this incredibly ornate mansion. And honestly, it almost made me think that they're going to go in, and then this librarian had like some sneaky science lab and was making this happen on purpose. It was just a weird wrinkle. In the film. Like it's a librarian, and yet somehow she has like one of the largest houses you could possibly imagine. Like inconceivable, like doesn't even fit in with any of the suburb. It's just this house that's probably the size of 10 of the other suburban houses combined. And they make a point to be like, this is the librarian's house. Very weird wrinkle. And then her house is kind of just infested with these like kind of aquatic Komodo dragon type dinosaurs that they have to circumnavigate to get to the top. And there's like some pterodactyls, whatever. The kid jumps off the roof and hurts himself because he misses the wormhole. All of these sorts of things, which is, first of all, a very big issue in the film is underlined in this scene, which is that there is literally no shutting of doors throughout this whole movie. Like, it's literally comical how often people leave their doors open, because you go to, you pull up to a neighbor's house and you see that the old lady is dead because, her back door was open and a velociraptor got in and like got her, which cool concept, I guess. And, it's an old lady. Maybe she forgot to open the door, maybe whatever. But the degree to which doors are open in this film is unbelievable. Like literally every door. And so there's this one, as a matter of fact, there's this one scene where the scene that comes to mind is there's this scene with this like giant python creature, which by the way, super sick. It's like a python that you would know. It's like a snake, but it's huge. It's probably, 4 to 5 feet tall. And then its diameter is like giant. Like it's probably like the size of like 2 hula hoops. If you were to combine the diameter of 2 hula hoops, like that's how big the snake is. It's super long. It can like encircle like a whole house, whatever. It's like exploring suburban pools and kind of living in those a little bit. But so there's a scene where this giant python creature sneaks into the main character's house, and throughout the shoot, and I recognize that maybe they just had to have doors open for like literally the way that the shots are filmed, but every single door in the entire house is open, including the window that this creature came in. And if you knew that dinosaurs, which everyone at this point in the film is extremely aware of, that dinosaurs are very much around and very much attacking and killing people and getting into their houses, you would have all the doors shut. So anyway, it comes in through this wide open window. And it's almost like, I swear this movie, it's like it knows what its weak points are, and its goal is to make them as weak as possible. So they know that, it's weird, obviously protagonists in this film wouldn't leave doors open in real life because it doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? And so they just take it to the most extreme. The way they, like in the opening shots, in the establishing shots, when they're like trying to, give the person who's watching the context of like, okay, this person is in this room, this person is in that room, this person's in the kitchen, so to build the suspense so that when the python comes in, you're kind of like, oh, it's going to come to this person, now it's going to come to this person. They're showing all of these people, and they're all sitting with their doors open, and most dramatically of which, this girl whose parents were killed by dinosaurs is living with them. This girl is using the bathroom, and she doesn't have the door closed. Like the door is open with her in the bathroom. And it's like, okay, I get it. Horror movies, the protagonists, they do dumb stuff because that's what happens, right? You need something to move the plot forward. If every horror movie was the smartest person ever, then horror movies wouldn't be as interesting. But so sure, like people leave their bedrooms open. Maybe they want to hear what's going on. Maybe they just leave the door open and they're stupid. But why would they show someone using the bathroom, like actively using the bathroom, and then show that the door is open? Not to mention the person using the bathroom is the person who doesn't belong in the family. At this point, it's Anne Hathaway, her 2 children, and then this random kid that they've semi-adopted because her parents were killed by dinosaurs. And the person who's semi-adopted, the one person who you'd be like, for sure she would close the door when using the bathroom, is just sitting there with the bathroom door open. It's so weird. It was such a weird detail. And she's not even that, like, once the python gets into the mix of things and starts wreaking havoc, she's not even like a critical element in what's going on. They just put that as an establishing shot, almost to just draw attention to the fact that the doors were open, which is such a gaping issue I have with this movie. Just every single door is open. When you watch the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So there's that, and then the scene that completely ruins the movie for me. Legitimately, like when this scene happened, it probably happens 3/4 of the way through the film. After this scene, it's the only thing I could think about for the rest of the film. Like I was observing the film, what was going on, but in the back of my head, I was just thinking about that scene because it made me so angry. So there's a scene where a T-Rex comes out, right? Super cool. Maybe it's an Allosaurus. I don't know if it was big enough to be a T-Rex, but it's a very large dinosaur. It's a T-Rex, I think. And I should know this. I used to be so into dinosaurs. But anyway, so the T-Rex is going after the kids. It's kind of going forward, and then each of the family members is kind of taking their turns to distract it to try to get it. So like the T-Rex will be chasing after the girls, and then Anne Hathaway will shoot it with a gun, so that then the dinosaur's chasing her, and then someone will like honk the car, like shoot an arrow at it, and so then the dinosaur's like on that, and so they're kind of playing this game to make the dinosaur zigzag. But anyway, so it's after Anne Hathaway, it's got her cornered on this brick porch in front of a thing. And then Ewan McGregor's character, who's the dad who's married to Anne Hathaway, is going to go and save her, right? The dinosaur's about to get her. He's closing in on the porch. He's breaking down the pillars so he can find more room to get Anne Hathaway and eat her or whatever. So Ewan McGregor comes up from the back with a sledgehammer and hits the dinosaur on a wound that it has right on like the juncture of its leg. So right kind of like where its calf meets its thigh, like he hits the dinosaur, like somewhere like obviously hurt. And so the dinosaur reacts, it like pulls its head out and then goes after Ewan McGregor. Totally cool scene. Like he goes up with the sledgehammer, he hits the weak spot, he saves his wife. And then this is what happens. This is exactly what happens, all right? The dinosaur pulls its head out, turns around, looks at Ewan McGregor, goes to hit Ewan McGregor, goes to chomp Ewan McGregor in half, goes to bite him, goes to kill him. Ewan McGregor swings the sledgehammer and hits the dinosaur square in the jaw, which is fine, all right? Suspension disbelief, sure. The dinosaur flinches, whatever. But the dinosaur doesn't just flinch. The dinosaur falls onto the ground and like passes out. For like 5 seconds, the dinosaur is out cold on its side on the ground of this suburban lawn because Ewan McGregor one-shotted it with a sledgehammer. This giant Tyrannosaurus Rex that's bigger than like 2 elephants put together. He one-taps it with a sledgehammer. The dinosaur goes down, and then the dinosaur gets back up and then just murks Ewan McGregor. It picks him up by the leg, swings him around into the ground, creates like a crater in the earth with his body. His leg is off. Very startling, actually, because there wasn't really violence to this degree throughout the whole film, and then all of a sudden the main character, or the second to main character, but pretty much the main character, is all of a sudden getting wrecked by this dinosaur, throws him into the ground, creates a crater, bites his leg off, and then goes in and just eats him alive while Ewan McGregor is screaming. It's a super graphic scene, and honestly, if they had just had that happen, I think it would have improved my experience of the movie, because it was like, yeah, like, I mean, a T-Rex is facing after a family. The T-Rex is going to get someone, you know what I mean? Like 4 people aren't going to be able to elude a T-Rex out in the plain open for that long. But the fact that he one-tapped the dinosaur makes me so mad, because why did they include that? It doesn't serve any purpose. He dies anyway. So maybe Ewan McGregor's, his character is kind of being shit on the whole movie, like he's this pizza delivery guy because he got laid off. His wife is kind of strong and independent, and he's kind of like a beta or whatever you want to call it. And so maybe this is like his moment. He knocks out a dinosaur and it's like, whoa, it's crazy. And honestly, actually, now that I'm saying it, I guess it could, because if he saved the wife by hitting the leg of the dinosaur and then just ran away and got caught by the T-Rex and then murked, like that would be Like, you'd be like, wow, this character is a total loser. He really did but he saved his wife. I feel like that should be good enough. He doesn't need to one-tap a dinosaur with a sledgehammer, especially when it literally makes no plausible sense how that would ever happen in reality. It was one of the most unrealistic and in-your-face unrealistic things I've ever seen in a movie, especially when the whole movie is supposed to be very much, besides the circumstance that they get in, it's pretty grounded in reality. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like they're supernatural. It's not like when the dinosaur swings around a character, they're still alive somehow. It's, I mean, like when people die because of the dinosaurs, they die because of the dinosaurs. And so the fact that he one-tapped that dinosaur with the sledgehammer, it really irked me. I'm not going to lie. It really bothered me. So anyway, the character died. And then also, so Ewan McGregor dies in front of his kids, in front of the wife, pretty messed up. And then there's like this weirdly shot moment, and this is more of a critique of the directing than it is a critique of the plot. But there's like a scene where it's like the dinosaurs in the foreground eating the husband, eating Ewan McGregor's character, and in the background we see Anne Hathaway, the wife, and her children, and this adopted child. They're like having this emotional moment watching what's going on. And I guess it makes sense, like, if you were in that moment and someone that you loved got killed by a dinosaur, you'd probably stop and watch for a second. But I feel like maybe you wouldn't. Like, maybe what I think is survival instincts would just hit immediately and you are splitting out of there. Actually, I don't know. That's a tough decision. I actually don't know what you would do. But the fact is they play this kind of like somber music, and then they like have this like 10-second close-up where it's like this emotional moment between the wife and her kids, right in front of in the foreground being the dinosaur eating Ewan McGregor, the husband, their father. It's so very weird scene, I would say. And to be honest, this movie is pretty much just that. It's pretty much just that. It's that one very weird scene. There's some marital struggles. The wife wants to be a book writer, and the basement floods, and all this minor like blue blob, whatever stuff. Ultimately, it's suburban dinosaurs. It's good for a minute where it's kind of realistic. It's kind of suspenseful, but it's not very scary. It's not even that thrilling. The characters, the protagonists, are just complete idiots the whole time. They spend the entire time outside instead of in the houses, which I get. You can't just have them hunkered down in a house, which is definitely the move, to be honest. Low-key, during this movie, I was borderline fantasizing about what I would do in this situation, because I feel like this would be such a cool circumstance to have to overcome, because it's not just like a small street. Like, it's called the End of Oak Street, but it's not just like one road that's transported to prehistoric times, which would be pretty much impossible to survive. I feel like it's pretty much a whole community. Like, it's basically a subdivision. It's probably 200-300 houses, maybe more. It's probably like 300 houses when they zoom out and kind of show all of the houses that were teleported to this place. And low key, like, if your subdivision got teleported to prehistoric times and you have all of the resources that are in your house and other people's houses, and your people, right, you're smart. I mean, insanely smart compared to dinosaurs. I feel like you could definitely make it. I feel like you could definitely. The strategy would be this, and I was thinking about this during the movie. The strategy would be to stay in your house, board up all of the walls, which is what they do at the beginning, and then basically just house hop one house to the next. So your next door neighbors with someone else, you just go to their house, and then you kind of create like basically it doesn't have to be a tunnel, but functionally a tunnel. But I mean, it could literally be a tunnel. You create like an egress between two houses. You link them together. You share the resources, and then you basically just go link to link until you create like a community, and then like maybe a wall to keep the dinosaurs out, right? So, say your buddy lives to your right. Now you have a connection there, so you're never spending any time outside. You're inside. You're collaborating with people. You're building this community of people who are realizing that this is their new future, having to fight these dinosaurs and probably eventually kill them, find ways to eat. You're sending people out for quick expeditions to go out and find food. You're giving them all of the arms so that when they go out, they're well prepared. It's honestly, I think that this premise would be super cool. Maybe like in VR or something. I mean, it's the kind of thing that like in a dream you would have, and you'd be like, wow, that was sick. Like, I was leading my local community through prehistoric times. It's a cool premise is all I'm saying. And there could be a cool movie, maybe not a movie, but definitely a cool theoretical circumstance where a smart group of community members takes this chance to basically assert human will over dinosaurs over a prolonged period of time by overcoming them, brains over brawn type thing, and surviving and prospering and conquering the prehistoric world just with the resources that were allotted in this 300 house community, which I think would be totally possible. You definitely have all the tools, all the weapons and things that you would need to really get something going on. And then you could start harvesting the resources. You could start farming. You could start eventually building Walmarts and get to current society, probably. I mean, probably. Watch the movie and see if you think that in these circumstances you could survive, because I definitely think you could. So yeah, anyway, those are kind of my thoughts on The End of Oak Street. Again, it was predictably mid. Like when you watch the movie, you're like, oh, this is, at least for me, I love dinosaurs. They're like the craziest thing ever, the fact that dinosaurs actually existed. Cool premise, some cool execution, but ultimately completely ruined by one scene and some weird kind of plot holes. And then eventually they just jump in this portal and they go back to their time, and then they save past Ewan McGregor. So he's like, they like steal Ewan McGregor from his original family so that he can be a part of their family. But they tie it up in a way that's not like as dissatisfactory as I just explained it. But that's the movie. It's pretty good. I would give it like a... It's honestly not that good. When I saw it had Rotten Tomatoes 86%, I was like, wow, this is going to be a good movie. It's going to be a really solid film, a really solid dinosaur film that isn't Jurassic World or Jurassic Park, because those movies always do horrible. I was really excited for this, and I was predictably but unfortunately let down. So a little bit unfortunate. I'll give it a... Honestly, I'm going to give it just a square 5 out of 10. Just a proper mid film. Thanks for watching. Bye.